Welcome. Welcome, everybody. Hi, and thank you for joining us today for the Developers Showcase. My name is Kari Lisa Johnson, and I'm the Marketing Director for Boom Cards. I'm excited to introduce Eric Omig, who founded Boom Learning with his wife, Mary. Eric is the CTO, and he also served on the Washington State Senate, where he led historic education reform. I know you're all excited to hear from him. But first, I wanted to do a bit of housekeeping. We want to let you know that we are recording this session and live streaming it. You'll be able to find the recording on our YouTube channel, and we'll also be sending you a follow-up email tomorrow if you registered for the event. We also have a Q&A box. Please post your questions here. You'll see it. It's part of the Zoom menu. Basically, the Q&A box enables everyone to see the question and answers, and we'll even be able to answer some of your questions live during the Q&A. So please make sure to stay to the very end so you can see that Q&A, and you can ask your question in the Q&A box, and we will have our team answering it live in writing, or Eric will answer it at the end of the session. So today, Eric is going to cover the evolution of the Boom Cards product and what you can expect in the coming year. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Eric.
Thank you, Kari. And good morning, everyone. Give me a moment just to orient myself and share my screen. Does that look about right?
Yeah, we see it.
Excellent. All right. So the symposium's got a lot of general interest things. We talk about a few Boom things, but this particular session is just all about Boom and engineering and the engineering process. So, so you're in the right place if that's what you wanted to hear about. I'm going to just outline what we're covering. We'll talk about our processes. We'll do a quick talk about some of the things that we've done over the last year and some previews for some things that are upcoming. And then, of course, give you a chance to give some feedback and ask some questions. The most important part of our process is that we really think of many different user types that we have, and students being, of course, the reason why we're all here. And so their experience gets the highest priority, followed by teachers who are supporting those teachers, and the teachers who are supporting those kids. And we want to really help make sure that teachers are not blocked in the classroom, that their lesson plan doesn't fall apart because of something that we did wrong. We want to make sure that they get really fast access. And of course, and people who are just creating content, people who are selling the content, school or district managers who are helping to get teachers onboarded and assigning them various roles. And of course, just general things that we think help everyone, like security and performance. So that's how we prioritize. But there's something else to understand, and that's that we're not like a Google or a Microsoft or an Apple, where someone sends in an idea, and maybe because there's a billion other ideas out there and 10,000 people that have to approve it first. If you send the feedback, we have a few eyes on it, and we make a decision. And if it's a quality of life thing that we can do quickly, we get it done quickly. I was on a phone call recently with a school district who was having a little bit of trouble with their Canvas integration. And while we were on the phone, I just asked a few questions because the teacher I happened to be speaking to is special ed all the time, and I just wanted to understand her experience. And so I put down on this slide the printing student detail report, because she said legally where she lives, all the Boom cards that the kids play, she has to screenshot what the card looked like and how the student reported. So she meticulously, laboriously goes to each slide in the student detail report, screenshots it and prints it to put it into the folder. Mind blown. That's a terrible way to live your life. Like, that's just a feature we're going to give her, so she can just print that thing out without having to do that one by one. Here's another one. I think this was probably 2 days ago. Apparently during one of the symposiums, one of our guest speakers was showing something in the dashboard. She was great, unflappable. She clicked a button and it didn't seem to do the right thing. She gracefully pivoted and moved on. But it was being recorded. So we had multiple people on 2 different continents looking at the video and saying, we see there's an apparent bug, but we can't reproduce it. But we had video evidence, so a screenshot or video evidence that it was actually a thing. And when we zoomed in and we did frame by frame, we could see the first time she clicked the button, everything worked. But then when she moved the mouse over just a little bit, and so I've kind of zeroed in on the elements in question, and I didn't blur out this background image for privacy or anything else. I just wanted, that's the quality of video we were working from when we were trying to determine what the problem was. But remember, this is a teacher trying to do work and understand her kids' performance. So that's falls in our high priority, drop everything and see what's going on. And it took us, like I say, it took us a day to kind of figure out what was going on. It took us a few hours to get the bug fixed and done. So that's what I mean by quick turnaround and people jumping. So if you're sitting on an idea or two, sit no more, leap into action. I think I'll just take a breath here. I have no idea. Someone told me I could be able to see chat messages, but PowerPoint's taken over my entire slide. So I'm going to ask my proctors to just interrupt if there's something timely that comes up from attendees so I can respond to it.
Absolutely. So far, the most interesting thing is that we have Daniela, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, Daniela, coming from Croatia, where it's 6 p.m. So everybody's just reporting where they are and whether they're a publisher or a regular user. And I think so far it's mostly publishers.
Well, that's good. That also helps think of the kinds of conversations we'll have then. That's actually not surprising. I believe Kari also anticipated that the publishers would be the most likely ones to want to engage in this session. And good evening to Croatia. So, all right, so let's talk just a couple of features, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because, well, we did them in the past, and so you already know about most of these. We had student voice responses, some secure QR codes to help with login and expiring QR codes, a 2-sided referral program. This is particularly interesting to our publishers. It allows the people who are referring to get a bonus, as well as the person who signs up to get also rewards. We did a full refresh on mobile apps. We did a lot of improvements just across all of the features. Big improvements to search. Our polling on teachers who are searching in the store for content say that they're exceedingly happy with the kinds of results. Though I really, again, just to indicate the responsiveness, I want to say we're not there. It's not a home run. We're still round in second, so we got a lot of work to do. And I appreciate the detailed feedback on search that our publishers have been sending. Ink has finally, I think we previewed Ink last year in this session, and it took us a while to get it finished up, but Ink recently went into general beta availability, which means you can create and start selling Ink content right away. The reason we're still keeping it in beta is we have one bug feature part that's not quite finished. If you put ink on your card and you have something else on the card, we want to require that the student complete both the ink portion and the other portion of the card, say the fill in the blank section or the multiple choice section. And currently that doesn't block. If as soon as you finish the ink, you can submit the card, which means the student might miss a section of the card. So that's why we're still holding it in beta.
Can I interrupt you quickly just because people are curious what ink means?
Oh, I'm sorry. I have a picture of that coming up. So let's yeah, I actually have a picture of it coming up. So let's hold on to that, and I'll talk more about ink in a minute then. So Boom Live is I think I just start flipping through these. So Boom Live is another feature. You get to it, you launch it in your library. You say start a live session. I've kind of indicated with that blue arrow there. And then if you haven't stumbled on this feature yet, today it will prompt you for a secret password code because it's an invited beta. It's about to go into full beta. And the way it works, no, I'm on ink. And so then the way it works is you're starting at basically a virtual screen share. So something that we would call HIPAA compliant, because we're not really sharing screens. We're just pretending to share screens, and we're recreating the Boom experience on two different or multiple different screens. You start it sort of like a FastPin, only instead of getting a FastPin code that someone types in, you get a URL that your student can use, and now you're looking at the same Boom experience. So that's live sessions. One caveat I want to give you on that one, again, and why it's still an invited beta. As soon as we get the next release out, we'll give it to general beta, is if you're logged in a browser and you start a live session, and then you go over to another browser window and you say, oh, I'm going to join the session as somebody else. That's not how the browsers work. You're still the same person in that other browser window. So if you go to a different browser completely or start in incognito mode, then you can connect to test it out, or go to a different computer or to your iPad and then see what it's like. And so far feedback on this is just universally ecstatic. And we've demoed this in the past, so I didn't want to spend too much time and do a full demo on this, but do take a look and give us some feedback. Like I say, the user experience refresh will be coming in just probably next week. So you asked about ink. And so ink is when you're in the studio, you have this option where you can indicate that a specific card either allows the student to ink, means it's optional and they can draw notes on it, or that it requires the student to draw some ink, and the card can't be advanced until they've submitted something in ink. Here's just a really primitive example I put together last night, where I have a card up that says draw something, and the toolbar changes on the right just a little bit, because in this case, ink is allowed on this card. And so if the student taps draw, then we gray out a little bit of the rest of the card just to help the student focus on their drawing. They can change the brush size and colors, they can sketch something, and then they can close out and go back and interact with the rest of the card and then submit it for grading. Then what you'll see, well, what teachers will see in the detail report is basically exactly this. If you're familiar with those student detail reports, you click on a card, it shows you how the card looks and what the student response was. So that hopefully answers the question on what is ink. Just a chance for students to draw responses. These next series of slides, I'm going to blow through them really quickly. It's just a series of screenshots, but it's something we're really excited about. And this is some what we call LTI, or Canvas and Schoology integrations. This is a completely new level of integration. We've been running now for quite a while with Canvas. In beta, we've got some customers using it full time. They've been absolutely fantastic, telling us about quality of life or things that didn't quite work right. We've got those all set up. We don't have a Schoology customer yet, so if that is you now, again, I understand my audience is mostly publishers, so probably not. But here's how this experience works for the teachers. This should look familiar to anyone in Canvas. I'm in the Canvas app right here, and I'm going to pick a classroom that's in the Canvas experience. I want to assign a lesson in the Canvas classroom. Zooming in here, I want to use an external tool, specifically Boom Cards, for the assignment. So I now want to configure it, which brings up now this little piece of the user interface is Boom Cards inside of the Canvas app. And you can use all the search tools, find a specific lesson you want to assign it, then use all the other rich Canvas features to set time and expiries and how it should be graded and et cetera. Then you save it, you publish it, and now the students will see that lesson as available within their Canvas experience. So here's what a student sees when they log in. Their dashboard looks like this, and then they pick a classroom to open it up. And they've got their assignment list, and they can click on one and they see here's an assignment that needs to be done. Once they've clicked the specific Boom assignment, now again within the Canvas app, the student player is running just as you'd always expect it to do. The kids interact with it, and then when they're done, all the reporting gets sent back to Canvas. So in their grade book, they can see here how it's scored. And part of that creating the assignment in the first place is we normalize scores. So the teacher can say, yeah, I want this thing to be worth so many points. So it doesn't matter how many cards it is. It gets normalized to the point basis that the teacher can specify. So that was, like I said, just kind of giving a real quick example of this kind of really rich LMS integration, and the fact that we're just excited because for these school teachers, for the bigger accounts, it's teacher management becomes a real trouble. And so now they get to use the tools and the IT reports that they know and love, and then Boom just kind of plugs right in there. So like I said, there was I didn't want to spend too much time on the things that we have done, so we could get into the things that are coming up. And I have to take a moment to put a probably and a safe harbor. So these are not promises of features, though, we wouldn't be talking about them if we really weren't pretty confident we were going to be doing this. And so I think this is the exciting bit. And then again, we're not a Microsoft or an Apple, and we didn't have some folks go into a lab and secretly come up with this list. We are always monitoring social and feedback. So we can do a couple big swings every year and put some nice big features out there. And then we do just countless other kinds of improvements. So, whatever your greatest pain point is, or something that's going to flip you from happiness into full elation and joy, let us know about them. All right, so I'm showing this slide just again because, like I say, it came up about a week or so ago. This is what the normal student report looks like in the player. And this is what that poor intrepid teacher had to take a screenshot of to put in her grade book. So we'll just print out a whole bunch of these things so she doesn't have to do that work. That's what we call a small quality of life thing, by the way. This is one probably most of the folks on this call, sellers, publishers, have been screaming for some time. Can you please export my data so I can pivot in Excel? So exporting will be coming soon, very soon. And then some other richer ways to click through some of these reports. These are mocked up. We haven't actually started most of this dashboard work here yet, but this is the direction we're going. I think some of the things I've read that people have been doing to try and understand their data is terrifying, really. It reminds me of that poor lady that has to take screenshots to put them in her thing. So we really want to relieve you guys from having to struggle to get the data about where you guys are having success. This is another big ask that's been coming for a long time, and Mary and Kari have been your biggest advocates on this. And when it comes to sales, you know, our mantra, or my mantra's been, you know, kids don't buy stuff. Kids aren't in the sales, and I think they finally. Mary heard this enough time and said, but kids play the stuff that people buy on sale. So anyway, so we'll have store-wide sales coming, and then they can be scheduled out into the future. So they just happen automatically and put all of your stuff on sale. There's some new work we're doing specifically to help new users get started. Today, when you create a new account, we kind of just drop you right into the classroom page, and you know, the curious like figure it out, and they're like, where's this been my whole life? Oh my God, I love boom cards. And then we hear maybe a few times too often, so then what do I do? And this is, I don't understand. What do I do once I have a boom card? How do I get my kids to use it? So this is what a dashboard is going to look like. It's customized, shows the most recent things that you've purchased for quick access, shows you your classrooms and things that you might be creating all at a quick glance. And then for the new user, it's going to look a lot better than this with links and tips, but an ability for the new user to get oriented, say, yeah, this is my primary Cedar dashboard, to get launched into different parts of the app, so that they're not left guessing about which navigation items on the nav bar that they should be clicking through. So we call that last one teacher dashboard. That's different than, say, what the other things we were talking about on the publisher dashboard. All right, so these next couple of slides are some pretty big things. Again, just judging by who's in the room, many of you may have already heard about this. So I'm going to introduce the feature, talk about it a little bit, and then let's save Q&A for going a little bit deeper on any of these things, so that I'm speaking to the right features that you want to hear about. So the Premier Publisher Program is very exclusive. Currently, it's only going to be on an invitation-only basis. And our team has been busy looking at many metrics of quality, and so reviews, amounts of things, and then just reading through and reviewing countless thousands of decks. If you get invited into this program, and then later if you apply into the program, you still, even if you're invited, you're not approved. You still have to fill out the materials and agree to a significantly more stringent terms of quality to participate in the program. And what do you get for it? What's the why do you want to do all that extra work? You will get special branding. Here's a couple of samples. I don't think one has been picked. I believe users voted for the one on the first one on the left there. So your decks will be decorated with this branding. In search on the store page, your own avatar will be also branded as a signature of quality, and you will get a slight boost in store. So all things equal, we think this is a good proxy for quality. So those guys will get boosted in store search as well. More important than even that, as if that wasn't enough, and I think that's fantastic. So all of your existing experience with Boom and selling in the marketplace should be enhanced. The other thing that this does is it unlocks a brand new revenue option. And I'm going to flip to my next slide just to kind of talk about what I mean there. So we have original equipment manufacturers who do smart boards who've reached out to us, larger school districts, and they cannot, their head explodes when we say, well, here's how you can buy stuff. You can buy a membership, and then you can get points, and then you can convert the points into content. And they're like, well, how much points do I need? You know, how do I do this? And how can I budget this? And what's it going to cost me this year and next year? And that unpredictability is a hard showstopper. So they just can't, you know, they just have to walk away and say, thank you, you know, come back to us later. And we hate it when we have to disappoint potential customers and send them away. So we spent a lot of time thinking about how we could do this and how our partners, content creators, would like this. And so it really was the premier program was born as a reaction to how can we get that assurance of quality for the school districts, and a rich, you know, content, a rich catalog of events, and then being able to price this subset of the Boom catalog of, you know, we think of as the best, highest quality content, that they can now unlock all of that content, that quality content, for a fixed fee. And then the fee that they pay for that, the money that they pay to unlock access to that content, would be then distributed in a fair and equitable way based on the usage of that content. So if we could imagine there's 1,000 sellers in the program, and a big school district like Chicago really likes 2 or 3 sellers, maybe they're even from Chicago, and so they've been really favoring those, and that's where most of their content is being played, then the correct percentage, you know, that prorated percentage of that fee would get paid directly to the content authors who made those materials that they're actually using. Another district might be a little more widely much bigger variety in the content that they're using, and so they might, you know, their fee might get distributed across hundreds of content creators. So that's a model we think works. And then reminder is that nobody is forced into that plan. It doesn't cannibalize any existing sales. It's strictly a incremental revenue stream. So only premium publishers will have access to it, because we have to make, we think the assurance of quality for the school districts who regularly say, like, how do we know that this material doesn't have, incorrect answers, that it's got some kind of alignment to standards, which, by the way, standards tagging is another feature they'll be coming. Anyway, I think that's just probably enough said about that. I've now introduced those kind of two features, but that synergize, they work together. So that's a good place to stop. Just before I open it, the things up, I want to conclude on maybe two more points. First is about search. We did a whole big search meeting. If you didn't see that, someone can maybe post the link to how that went. If you have more questions about it, this is still a great forum to do it. But watching that video will really, I think, answer a lot of questions about search. And then standards tagging, somewhere on a slide I mentioned as a bullet point, I didn't dive into it. I think there's a lot of things that are kind of self-evident on standards, but we've been a little bit slow to roll out standards because you think standards are standardized, but they're not. There's about 35 different standards, and Common Core and Texas and Georgia, and how do we get a translation between those standards? And so that's really actually been the hard problem we've been struggling with. So we didn't want to punt and just go like, yeah, just tag it with anything and someone will figure it out. So we're pretty close on partnering with a vendor who can really help us do that equivalency from one standard to another. So if you're in the Common Core universe, when you're creating your content and you tag it with Common Core, we want to make sure that the Texas shoppers will see your stuff under a Texas named standard. Okay, so that's it. Now I'm gonna pause here and open it up.
Yeah, can you hear me, Eric?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. We've definitely got some questions for you. So we're going to start with a question from Nellie. Is there a way to get a new mystery pack when a student has bought all the avatars? And I happen to know that this is something we're working on. So do you have anything else to add on this? I can answer it if you want.
Please take a swing at that, Kari.
Okay, great. This is definitely something that Jorge, the publisher champion, has been working on. This is his pet project. So if you think it should be done faster, feel free to message Jorge on the publisher Facebook group and say, hey, where are my new avatars? Because I know he's working on trying to get thousands of new avatars. That's a big request, and it's going to improve quality of life for the students.
Yeah, great. Thank you. It really is Jorge's passion, and we want to do not just avatars, but also stickers and some other things. So it's on the list for sure.
Yep, and it's actively being worked on. So Robin asked, will there be a sales minimum to get approved as a premier publisher, or is it based on the quality of the decks? And she is a new seller just getting started. And I can answer this one as well, because I happen to know that the number of decks is important, meaning I think we want your entire first page to be full. Don't quote me on that. I'm not positive that's the requirement, and we will have an FAQ with the up-to-date requirements, but I don't think it has to do with your sales figures. So we would want to keep it open to new sellers who are producing great content.
Yeah, agreed. I also want to say that with all these rules, we also want to allow some human judgment. Quite a few years ago, we had a particular pair of sellers that did some just really interesting novel content. We should actually invite them back. They've been gone for a while. But if you're doing something that's just wonderful, we don't want to make you tough it out for 6 months and build up a sales reputation and dollar amount before we would allow you to the program. But you certainly, if you're new, you're not going to get the first round of invite because you just don't have the track record.
And Mary did add, she's watching, and in the comments she said, yes, there's a 22 deck minimum. So that's the exact number that you would have to have your, store fleshed out enough that we would consider you for the Premier Publisher program. So we have another question. Is there a way to have more classrooms? As an SLP working in 14 different schools, I have to double up schools in the schools. So do you have any answer for that, Eric? I believe it's possible to purchase extra.
You can definitely do more classrooms. This is a perfect example. Now that I think about this, because this happens rarely, but on a pattern, we should put some language, if we haven't already. I thought we put an error box in the app, so when you tried to add another classroom, it would say, oh, you're out, please contact support. We have a way for our agents to do an override on that limit, and I want to be clear on some of the limits that we do, because people ask about, like, well, why is this a limit? What's that a limit about? And it's just really all about performance, and not just like, can we handle it, but can your machine handle it, and can the network handle it? And so and how does the behavior of the app feel? Does it get sluggish? So if you are saying, hey, give me my classroom list, and it's a very big list of classrooms with a very big list of students, that's an awful lot of data to come streaming down, and we don't want big loading bars hanging out there. But as long as you kind of sign up and go, you know what, I don't mind a loading bar, you're preventing me from getting some work done. But we also don't want people to actually accidentally stumble in, and we also don't want to have abuses. So we build in limits for various reasons. We want to prevent account sharing, for instance, and someone go, oh, hey, look at this, like 12 teachers got together and we have 100 classrooms with 1 million kids, and we're just paying for one account. So we can absolutely try and accommodate legitimate use, and that is by every definition legitimate use.
So what do you recommend? Do you recommend writing into the help desk?
Yeah, simple. Just say help at boomlearning.com. I'm an SLP. Give a little bit of background and say, and I'm stuck at 14 classrooms. Can you help me? That's when we can just totally turn that one around.
Okay, sounds great. So we have another question from Karen, who's asking, is it possible to have starter templates that will allow content to be created a lot faster for teachers? And this is a pet project that I've been working on, and along with Jean-Michel, who's here on the call. And so we're working on that right now for you. And it's something that we hope will be eventually populated into every new account, so somebody can get started and have all the templates they need to just duplicate and go with their lessons.
Yeah, thank you, Kari. And I want to refine that answer just a little bit. That was a perfect answer. And say, we actually see this issue in cutting across like 3 different requests. The first is, how can I move a card from one deck to another deck, but the template card does a thing. And so, like, because the template card on this deck is different than the template card on that, you just can't do a copy and paste. And we've been really trying to struggle with, should we just like should we take a card that you want to move, warn you, compose the card, sever its relationship to the template, then stick it onto the new deck, and similarly disconnect it from a template? Most people, I don't think, appreciate that level of detail of what's happening. And so then they kind of as explained, they kind of, oh, I kind of get it now. Like, yeah, it's like, I had dancing ice cream cones over here, and I got little rubber chickens over there, and I thought I would just kind of try, you know, they don't go together as well as I thought. So that's the one slice of that. The other is anytime you make a deck and you've got it all laid out and you've got a bunch of stuff, you can clone the deck, and that deck, you know, is really, I think that's where Yanni and Kari are going, is they want to give you some kind of base decks that you can use as your foundation for creating new content. Once you've made a really perfect, beautiful deck, you can clone it, modify some of the background images and the color schemes, and produce more content. But what is the poor new user to do who doesn't have any of those? And that's where Yanni and Kari come to the rescue. The last, when I said 3, so the last kind of pivot on that is, I really wish I could have 2 or 3 template cards, because I have different kinds of content. I got like the explaining, and then I got the fill in the blank, and I got the dragging, and the, you know, and we're still not on that, on answering that one yet either, because it's still all that complexity of like which cards are linked to which template, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and how we compose the whole thing. So that one's actually, we'll get the other 2 made before we get to that one.
Okay. So there's some complexity involved, but we did add the ability to have all the links work properly after cloning a Flow Magic deck. So that's kind of step 1 in this series of challenges that are involved in solving that problem.
I'm so glad you mentioned that, because that was one, when we did the clone, we said like Flow Magics are really hard to clone. They break all the links and everything. And I didn't realize how much demand was there. It was actually one of our engineers who just says, we try to do like passion projects. So yeah, you got to do your job. And then there's other things that you go like, okay, I don't know if there's a business motivation for some of this, but remember that this whole team is a lot like, you know, we're in this business because we have the same kind of passions teachers do. And so we had one engineer who just said like, by God, this is killing me. I can't live with myself if I can't fix this problem. And so that was his passion project. So he just blocked out some time and said, I'm doing this and I'm fixing clone. And then the feedback that we got was totally validating for him. So it was worth every minute that he spent on it.
Yeah, and we have Irmgard who commented, yes, so glad the Flow Magic clone is working now. Thank you, in all caps. So, and we do have another question, and we're running short on time, so I want to make sure we get to it. This is a really interesting one, and I think I might reveal a secret because I talked to Mary about it earlier, and she said I could.
Right.
But somebody asked, I believe there was some discussion about the stacking of relevant decks of the same publisher in the search results page. Is that still on the cards? And I want to just interject to say why it's important to stack publishers. And that's because part of the new search has to do with presenting buyers with a greater variety on that first above the fold page, right? We want the first couple search results to not be dominated by one kind of image, to not be all from the same publisher. And that's where the stacking of decks is going to be essential. So Eric, do you want to kind of take over?
Yeah, I do. I'll try to be quick so we can get maybe one more question or 2 more. So we call it collapse. And there's something you have to just kind of understand about search generally. So when we were doing search, we had a number of both buyers and sellers who complained that people were kind of gaming a little bit. And there's like, oh, I'm going to do all my publishing on Sunday night. So on Monday morning, bam, I'm like, I own the page. And okay, that's clever. I'm going to say I'm not immune to that. We used to do our App Store releases on Sundays for the same reason. The thing that was bad was they were also going like, okay, well, I've aged off and I want to be on the newest page again at the top. So I'm just going to clone a deck, unpublish that one and republish it, the new one, right? And that's abusive, right? Because now you're just creating a bunch of churn and you're not creating new authentic content. You're just recycling to try and game getting onto the recents page. And, that was kind of working for these people. I don't know how it helped their sales or not, but it certainly was making them feel good, and was making me feel bad that they're like, I feel like that's just not like that would be the kind of behavior that if I saw it, I would kick you out of the elite program, the Premier Publishers program.
And from the buyer perspective, I think it's just not as appealing to see a page that's all dominated. It makes it look like there's only one publisher instead of being a rich variety of over 8,000 publishers.
Yeah, which exactly. And we heard this complaint more from the shoppers than we did from any other sellers. And so this got Mary so upset that she said, you absolutely must fix this. And so we said, well, how can we do it? We finally came up with the first version, and we've been doing this for years, where we take, as Kari called it, above the fold. So those first bunch of, it doesn't matter how you ranked, we take a specific seller's best rank and we stick it up at the top, if in its winning spot. And if they won the second best spot, they get demoted all the way down until they fall below the fold. We just artificially move the thing down and change the sort order so that above the fold, we have uniqueness, and then all the other things fill in. And that's a pretty good solution. But we think this collapse or stack feature is an even better one. So you'll because it also invites things that may be on page 2 and 3. So you show up, maybe you were going to normally show up with one deck at slot 2 and another deck down at, say, slot 24. Now what's going to happen is you're going to show up at your highest position, slot 2, and there'll be an indication that you have more matches. And either by hover or click, the users will be able to, jump into to see the good relevant content that matches it. Okay, maybe that was a little too long.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to cut you off because we're at 3 minutes to the hour, and we do have another presentation back to back with this. So thank you for joining us. We really hope you enjoyed the sneak peek for the coming year and this extra insights to what's going on the development team. Just a friendly reminder, please fill out the feedback form. You can find a link to it in the chat. We really, really appreciate all your feedback, and it helps us improve this for the future. The screen here shows how to get help if you have additional questions for the Boom team. And please join us for our next session on Boom for Special Education. We also have a bunch of other fantastic sessions scheduled for today, including speech therapy, ELA, social studies, music, occupational therapy, AAC, and foreign language. So we're sharing the links for the full schedule and the SPED session that's happening in 10 minutes. And if you love Boom Cards, please mark your calendar for August 8th and 9th. The publishers are having a hashtag sale on those dates, and you'll be able to get tons of Boom Cards for $1 a deck. And trust me, you don't want to miss the special back to school bargains that are coming on August 8th and 9th. So thanks again to Eric and to all the attendees, and happy booming. Have a great day, everybody.